Hello Internet, so nice to see you. Today I want to talk about the Mixolydian sharp fourth scale, also known as the Lydian flat 7 or the Lydian dominant scale, also known as a host of other names because I'm sure that in the crazy world of music theory we found at least 30 other names for this scale. If you know other names for this scale, write them down in the comments, I'm curious about that. As usual, I am more concerned about the sound of this scale than the exact correct name of it. So in this video I'm probably going to use all those names, but I am particularly fond personally of the name Lydian dominant, so maybe I'm going to use this more than the others. Anyway, what is this scale? The notes of this scale in the key of A are A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G. An interesting characteristic of this scale is that this scale is half a Lydian scale and half a Mixolydian scale. Indeed, this scale has the D sharp, the sharp fourth of the Lydian scale, and it has the natural G, the flat 7 of the Mixolydian scale. So it's kind of a hybrid between those two scales. More than that, this scale is also the fourth mode of the melodic minor scale. If you don't know what modes are, don't worry too much right now. And if you want, you can always check out my course, Master of the Modes, to understand exactly what I meant with that. Another interesting characteristic of this scale is that it contains two tritones. There is a triton between the third note, C sharp, and the seventh note, G, and that's what we expect from a dominant scale, meaning a scale that can be used on a dominant chord, because the dominant chord, the A dominant chord, it's A, C sharp, E, G, and it's characterized precisely by the interval of a triton between the third and the seventh. But there is also another triton between the root note and the fourth note of the scale, A and D sharp, which is again typical of the Lydian scale. So this scale contains two tritone, lots of dissonance, lots of drama. It's a pretty conflicted scale, and you can find ways to make those notes fight against each other. As usual, the best way to hear the sound of a scale is not to play it as a scale, note by note, but instead to harmonize it, that is, to find what chords are inside the scale. So here we go. On the A note, I can build an A major chord, A, C sharp, E, or an A seventh chord if I include the seventh, the G. On the B note, I can build a B major, B, D sharp, F sharp, or a B7 if I include the seventh, which is the A note. On the C sharp note, I can have a diminished triad, C sharp, E, G, and if I include the seventh note B, I have a C sharp minor 7th flat 5. On the D sharp note, I have again a diminished triad, D sharp, F sharp, A, or a D sharp minor 7th flat 5 if I include the 7th, which is C sharp. On the E note, I have an E minor triad, E, G, B, or an E minor with a major 7th if I include the 7th, which is D sharp. On the F sharp note, I have an F sharp minor triad, F sharp, A, C sharp, or an F sharp minor 7th if I include the 7th, that is E. And finally, on the G note, I have a G augmented triad, G, B, D sharp, or I can have a G augmented with a major 7 if I include the 7th, which is F sharp. So at first sight, this scale looks quite user-unfriendly because we have two diminished triads, one augmented triads, only two major triads or seventh chords, and only two minor triads. So it seems like we don't have many possibilities. Well, that's a good argument if you want to start studying your diminished triads and your augmented triads if you don't know them already, because those can really sound good in the context of this scale. But even if you limit yourself to the major and minor triads and the seventh chords built on those, you still have a lot of possibilities and this scale can still sound great. So let's see a couple of simple chord progression. A good trick that we can use when we are studying a new scale is to keep playing the root note at the bass. Now the root note is A, and I can play an A using the open 5th string on your guitar. So here's a simple chord progression, A, B, E minor, A, but I'm gonna play the bass of A on all those chords. This chord progression is of course reversible, and I can play everything in the opposite order. A, E minor over A, B over A, A. You can do something similar using any of the triads we found before, but you can also invent your chord by simply taking some notes of this scale and putting them together in a different way. So here's a more interesting chord progression that you can build on this scale. The first chord is simply an A major chord. The second chord is again an A major chord in which I have a sharp 11, a D sharp note. The next chord I get by moving all my fingers down 2 frets on the guitar, and I get an A9 chord. And finally, I have this strange chord at the end, which is simply an A suspended with a 9th and a sharp 11th. Which is a beautiful chord. Of course, rather than inventing chords and using triads, I can also use 7th chords. So in this case, I'm going to do something like that. As a first chord, I'm going to take an F sharp minor 7th and play it with a bass of A. Of course, what I'm obtaining is just an A 6th chord. Then I'm going to take the C sharp half diminished chord, that some of you call a C sharp minor 7th flat 5, and play it again with a bass of A. What I get is an A9 chord. Then I'm going to take the D sharp half diminished chord and play it with a bass of A. So I'm just moving all my fingers 2 frets higher on the guitar. I'll leave it to you guys to find the exact naming of this chord. Finally, I'm going to take an E minor triad on strings 2, 3, 4, add an A at the first string, and play it again with a bass of A. The whole thing sounds this way. As usual in these short videos, we are just scratching the surface of what we can do with those exotic scales. The Lydian dominant scale has several more possibilities available, and it works really well in combinations with the other scale, and we haven't even touched how to use this scale in soloing, which will be a very, very long topic in itself. If you are interested in understanding much more about the Lydian dominant scale, then I recommend you guys check out my course Master of the Modes that tells you everything you need to know about scales and mode on guitar, how to play them, how to remember them, how to navigate them on the fretboard, where to use them, and how to make music with them. I dedicate in this course a lot of time to the Lydian dominant scale because it has so many possibilities. It can sound jazzy, it can sound progressive metal, and it can sound in many other ways. It's really a versatile scale, and of course we're doing every other scale and mode that you are gonna encounter in real life music. All the examples here are made straight on the guitar fretboard, so you can apply them immediately in your music. No guessing, no wondering, just straight from the course to your guitar. You can check out the Master of the Mode course by clicking on the link on the top right. If you like this video, smash on that like button and don't forget to subscribe, and please click on notification, otherwise YouTube will not let you know when I put up a new video. And if you have any feedback, comments, suggestions, please write them down in the comments. This is Tommaso Zilio of musictheoryforguitar.com, and until next time, enjoy!